Today I'm talking to the person who designed an amazing product. It changed lives of many blind and visually impaired people. This technology helps them to see the world around them. He is a co-founder of the company Envision, and together with his partner, he is building the future of computer vision on wearable cameras. Let's find out more from Karthik Mahadevan. Hello Karthik, welcome and thank you for doing this with us.
Hi Luba, thanks a lot, appreciate it.
No problem. You're from India, and when did you come back to the Netherlands and why?
So I came to the Netherlands in 2015 and I came here to do a master's in industrial design. It was mainly for studying. I wanted to be a designer, and the university in Delft is one of the best in the world when it comes to this field. So that's what got me here.
Right, and you chose to study healthcare products design, right?
Yeah, it was integrated a product design with a focus on healthcare products.
On healthcare products. Why did you choose this path?
So I always wanted to be in a field where I can solve problems. I think that's what has always been a fascinating thing for me. If I can take a problem and put my effort and energy into building a solution for it, I think that's what excites me the most. But I always want to do that to have the maximum impact on people, on your society. So I think that's what I've always wanted to do, where I'm solving problems that have the biggest impact on the world. And I think this was sort of the place where I saw myself to be most excited in working in, where I can actually sort of start to build something, but then at the same time, it's not like building something that's a toy, but building something that's really going to have like meaningful impact on people.
Right. And who inspires you?
Well, fortunately, I've never had to look too far for inspiration. My inspiration has always been like my mom and my dad. They're both very enterprising people. They've always been very resourceful into solving all the problems that life like it threw at them. So I've always been able to watch that up close, and I think that for me has always been very inspiring, and I think that's what allowed me to go and to take risks in life, which I've been able to. So I think that's the closest one. But apart from that, I've always been inspired by the great entrepreneurs of the world, the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs, Elon Musks, the ones who actually have had very audacious ambitions. I think for me that's inspiring in the fact that it's not really about their achievements as much, but it's about being able to even start having such like a large ambition.
Are you ambitious as well?
I believe so, or at least I aspire to. Like I aspire to never be happy with my state of being. I always want to achieve the the next thing, and I think that's the way I like to live my life.
You've taken a huge risk by moving by yourself from India to the Netherlands. Your family, as I understand, is still back in India.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first impression?
Yeah, like I remember, I still remember the first night I got here, and I remember thinking it's it's like a quiet place, and it was there is a term called deafening silence, and I got to experience that for the first time, because I was trying to sleep and I just could not sleep at night, because there wasn't like even a single like sound around me. And if you grow up in India, especially in Bombay, where I spent like a big chunk of my life, there's always some noise. There is either a car on the street, or like a dog barking somewhere, or even if you're at home, there is always a ceiling fan that's going above your head. So for me, that was one of the like the first things that I noticed as a big change, is like there was like silence at night. But then after that, I got to interact with the people, and I think I was totally amazed by how friendly and welcoming they are, because you often sort of hear that the Dutch people are very uptight and stuff, but at least in the university I went to, people were amazing. I was amazed by how sort of all fluent everybody was in English, where it was not even a struggle for me to sort of like blend in, and I never had to interrupt people and ask them to switch to English. So the environments I was in, like I always found that to be a great thing. Then I got introduced to the food. Wasn't impressed, to be honest. Like, yeah, because if you come from India, there is you eat like spicy and like flavorful like food for all like courses of meals. So it took some time getting used to the cast and the bread and the ham for lunch. But yeah, apart from that, I think the experience itself was amazing. In the university, one of the big things I learned is that here it's very initiative oriented. Like, you have to take the initiatives, you have to decide, like what are the subjects you're going to pick, what are the electives you're going to pick, what's the direction you want to take your studies in and your future in. And I think that also was like a learning experience, because I had often experienced that people would define things for you and you just are so used to taking instructions and you're like doing the things that you're told. But then once you have to start making like your own choices, I think that has a implication where you actually start to think for yourself, like, what do I want to achieve, like what is the direction I want to take my life in. And I think that's something that I was able to understand very early on when I came here, that a lot of stuff that happens here is very initiative oriented. So you're the one who has to take initiatives if you do want to make something of it.
But did you feel that you got help from other people, from your professors or maybe from your mentors? Did you feel that you could build the connections fairly quickly here, being a foreigner and a student as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think being a foreigner also probably helped me a bit, because when I got here, I wasn't really playing by the rules because I didn't understand the rules. So I will just don't go into the room of my professor and be like, hey, I need your help, and just sit and ask them for something, which they were not really used to. Like, I was told much afterwards that, hey, you have to take appointments with people, you cannot just go into the room.
That's a big different cultural
exactly.
difference, right?
But unfortunately for me, the professors I just opened their office and went into, they were like nice, and they were accommodating, and those are the professors who I'm still in touch with, because they have left a sort of like a mark on me. So they were sort of your mentors, and they, even though I didn't take appointments, they were still okay with having a chat with me and explaining things to me. So yeah, I think for me, there are a lot of people around here in the ecosystem that I've built, from your professors to like friends to other students. There was like a club I was a part of. So there are a lot of elements that have actually helped me to understand what I want in a better way. So yeah, definitely played a big part.
And how was it for you? Did you find an Indian community here? Because in The Hague, for example, is one of the largest Indian community and very active one. Mm-hmm. Was it easy for you to discover that?
Yeah, not that hard. I think if you come here as a student, it's a bit easier, because you have a student association, and you often do bump across our classmates. And there are different events that they organize, and it helps you like feel like you're like a little bit of India when you're away from India. So I think in that way the communities here help a lot.
So now let's start talking about your business. Sure. Very curious about your company. Envision was born in 2017, correct? Yeah. How did it start? Where did you meet your partner? Tell us.
So like my partner, I had met him when I was doing my undergraduation back in India. That was like a while back. I know him from like 11 years now. We were like roommates in the very sort of like first day of the college. But the whole idea of Envision, really started off when I was already over here, but I had gone back to India for the winter holidays. And at that time, I was invited to a school for the blind in India to give a talk about what are the job opportunities that the kids can have when they grow up. And I was there to talk as a designer, and I was just explaining to the kids in the room that they were like, that a designer is just somebody who solves a problem. So if you're able to build a solution to a problem that you face, you're also a designer. And then towards the end of my talk, I posed a question to all the kids in the room that day, and I asked them, if you guys become a designer tomorrow, what will be the problems that all of you would like to solve? And almost all the kids in the room that day were like, hey, I want to be more independent. I want to go to school on my own. I want to be able to hang out with my friends. I want to be able to pick up a book and to be able to read a book on my own. And independence was such a strong emotion that they all wanted to experience. And that's something that really stuck with me, because in my head I felt like, hey, I'm supposed to be a designer, somebody who solves problems. Why am I not doing something about it? So I came back and I spoke to the professors of mine, and I said, hey, there's something I want to do as a thesis of mine. And they were very open to it.
And how old were the kids? I was wondering about this story. It's a really powerful story.
Yeah.
How old were they?
They were like 9 to 15 years, so it was a mix of 9 to 15 year olds, yeah. So still in high school.
Yeah. So you came back from the trip to your professor to discuss, and you had that idea that you wanted to build. Did you have already that vision what you wanted to build for them, or did you just have a feeling, I've got to do something about it?
Yeah. When it started, it was purely a research thing for me. I just wanted to understand this better, because I wanted to understand what is independence, like what do they mean when they say the word independence, what does it mean for them? So I just went out, started talking to a lot of blind and visually impaired people, just observing them, spending your time with them to understand.
Here in the Netherlands?
Here in the
Netherlands.
Netherlands,
Continued, okay.
Yeah. And what I understood from that was that for a lot of them, independence almost always meant access to information. And since so much of information around us, since it happens to be in a visual form, their inability to access it is what is causing a dependencies in their life.
Right.
So when a blind person is walking into a train station, the information is up there on a display, but because it happens to be a visual information, they can't access it and they have to ask somebody for help. But at the same time, I also understood that it's pretty impractical to expect all the information around us to change. You cannot really put a braille stickers on everything around you. And it was at that point that I really started to look into how can the technologies of today, like artificial intelligence, how can they be used to extract information from these images and have it spoken out. And that's how the very early ideas of something like Envision AI came into being. So I reached out to a friend of mine who is now the the co-founder of the company with me. At that time, he was still back in India, but he was a software engineer and he was doing a lot of AI stuff at that time. So I just asked him to help me out on a project, and then we just started to build very simple prototypes of what is possible with artificial intelligence. That how can you take an image and have information in that image be extracted and spoken out. Then we took the prototypes that we built to the blind and visually impaired people I was in touch with here, and we asked them for for feedback, and then we'll take their feedback again, go back home at the end of the night, sit together and improve on the app, and then go back.
How long did it take you to develop the first prototype?
The first prototype was something that took us like a week to make, but it was
amazing,
like a simplistic thing. Like the first prototype did. If you take an image, it'll say that's a cup, that's a chair. But then when I took that to the people who I was doing the development for, like the blind and the visually impaired people, they were like, this is cool, but it's not helpful. Because if you tell me there is a cup in front of me, I'm probably the one who put the cup there. So I had to ask them questions like, okay, what is the kind of information that is actually going to be helpful for you? Like, what if I tell you, like it's your cup, if I'm able to help you to find this cup in a room, is that helpful? So that's how the whole process began. Right. So we took their feedback and we went back and we iterated on it to a point where towards the end of my thesis we had built a prototype of the app, which when I started to like show around to people, they were very excited about it. They said, hey, this is something that actually adds a value to our life. This is something that we are okay to pay for. And it was at that point that we really started to think that, hey, this thing that we have built, if we want to ensure that this is out in the hands of all the blind and visually impaired people in the world, as it was intended to be, we have to build a business model around it. We have to make sure it is sustainable, it is scalable, and that's how the whole idea of, okay, let's do something with this began.
So when did you get that feeling that you're on to something really big, something that can have a huge impact on millions of people? Was that at the moment when there was one blind lady, and I read that small article on the internet, the blind lady that tested it with you, and then she immediately wanted to pay for it, and you said,
yes.
no, we're not ready for it yet.
Yes.
But she was so impressed and so happy that she wanted to reward you right away.
Yeah.
Was that then?
Yeah, exactly. So there is an exhibition that happens in Utrecht every year, Zizo it's called, and it was at that exhibition that we had gone to attend and just talk to people about our app. And then we did a demonstration of this to a lady over there who was just impressed by it. And there is a thing to say, hey, it's nice, but then another thing to just go into your purse, take out your wallet, and they're like, here's the money. That's when you know that you have something that is special and you're onto something. So we still have the 20 euros that we got from her in our office in a frame, because we're like, okay, this is special, because this is when you know that you're building something of a value. It's no longer just your another app. It's something that's actually going to help people out there.
Nice. So let's talk about the app. You worked on the prototype together with your friend, your partner. You started to get some feedback and improve it, fine-tune it. And it was a long process.
Yeah, it was a very iterative process. That's one of the good things about a software, is that you can put something out there and then still keep improving on it. So we actually had a prototype, and then we were able to already invite people to install an app. But then we launched our first app on the App Store in the February of 2018. And what the app, it allows people to do is they can take images of things, and it extracts information from those images and speaks it out.
So they take images with their phone?
With their phone.
Is there any phone, Android, or it's only iPhones? Or was it in the beginning, first iPhone?
Yeah, in the beginning it was just on the iPhone. So we started with the App Store, and then towards the end of the year is when we launched on Android as well.
All right, so the first step is that you need to install the app, and then you need to take pictures of objects.
It depends on what information that you're trying to read. So if you're trying to read your text, for example, then there is a function to read text. So you will take, if you're sort of holding a book in front of you and you take an image, it's gonna speak out all the text that's in the book to you. So if you go to like a restaurant, you just pick up like a menu, take a picture, and you know exactly what's in the menu. Or you're in a train station, you just have to hold up your phone and it speaks out what's on the display. But then there's also your recognition of objects. So if you're trying to find something in your house, like you're looking for your keys, or you're looking for like remote control, you can just scan around with the phone, and then as soon as the object that you're looking for is in the frame, it speaks it out. So you know that's where your object is. So it can do a whole bunch of different AI operations, from description of a scene to recognition of text, to recognition of objects and faces. But all of them are built and sort of designed in such a way that it's easy for a blind and visually impaired individual at any point, whichever information that they want, that can be offered to them at the easiest convenience.
So the phone, through the photo, through the image, will actually then say it, what is that?
Exactly.
And where it is.
Exactly.
And how many languages could this app read and speak?
So as I mentioned, that we always were very international from the get-go. So when we put this out, we make sure that it can speak in over 60 languages. So it can not just do recognition of text in English, but also like in Chinese, in Arabic, in Hindi, in like in Japanese. So almost all the major languages of the world, the app is capable of speaking out.
That's incredible. Really is. And what about the data? So I understand that it's all about the data. Where is it stored? Is it in the cloud or is it on your phone? How does it work? What happens when you delete the image from your phone?
So the way we work is there is never any image being stored anywhere. So every time you take an image, we extract the information that is the one that you're looking for from that image, and the image is then immediately being discarded. So there isn't a sort of like personally identifiable information that we ever store. So that way we do ensure that you have the privacy that you deserve.
And does it mean that you need to again to take pictures of new objects or new texts? So that's how the app works.
Yeah. So there are a few things that you do. For example, you can teach the app to recognize like a face of a friend or a family member. So you can take a few images of the face, and then what it stores is actually a metadata of the face. It's not really storing the image itself. It's just storing in a like numeric like form the information about your face. And so that's the only thing that we store, but we never store the actual images or anything like that that can be traced back to a person anywhere.
Okay, so where is the metadata is stored?
So the stuff that you do a training of, all of that is stored locally on your phone. So that's never going to be stored on a server. The only thing that is happening on a server is the recognition of a few of the things. So for example, if you're doing the recognition of a text, the recognition is happening on the server, but all the customized information, all of that is happening on your phone.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about, how to customize this. Did you work on customization of this app? For example, could a person choose a voice? I like a female voice or a male voice and like a soft voice. Can you play with those settings as well or not?
Yes, you can. So all of those, sort of all the settings are available on the phone. So people actually have. So if you pick English, it's not just English. It's about English like in the UK or like in the US or like in Ireland. So you actually have a whole sort of like range of options of like voices that you can pick. And it's important because for the blind and visually impaired people, that becomes the interface. It's no longer about what is the color of the button and how does it look. It's about what is like the sound like. So we do pay special attention to that.
You started fine-tuning this app and you launched it on App Store. You see that it's getting bigger and bigger, and it was in the beginning just the two of you. But when did you start putting the team together? When did you actually start building the company?
So as soon as the app was out, we had a subscription attached to the app. So we started to make like revenue from the app very early on, and that's when slowly we started to include people in the team. So it often started with interns or in the beginning, students helping you out, but then over a period of time we just slowly and steadily were able to grow the team, and we are now about 15 people who are still working at Envision, and we have ambitious plans to grow the team even more. But we also had some help from investors who invested in our company, and that offered us the capability to really increase the team so that we can actually do a lot more.
Who was your first investor?
For Impact, which is a Hague-based impact investment fund, and they were the ones that we were put in touch with very early on, and they were the ones like who believed in Envision, when it was still a very young company at the time. So.
Did you find your first investor through the network of the university? Because there's also a startup incubator at the Delft University, or did you find it through did you find them through another connections?
No, it was through the incubator. So yes, Delft, that's the incubator that is there. That's the one in Delft. So immediately after like my graduation, we applied to be a part of that incubator, and they were the ones like who sort of helped us out with a lot of very early stage starting up a company issues, right? Or how to do the accounting, right? How to do the taxes, right? And also how to find investors. So they were the ones who were instrumental in that aspect. And we happened to meet Ali, who was the investor from For Impact, during an event that was organized by yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how the company Envision was born.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, Envision won the Google Play Award.
Yeah.
How did this happen so fast?
Yeah, no, it was very exciting for us as well when that whole thing happened. So we had launched our Android app, and that got very popular, very sort of in sort of a short amount of time, and it came into attention of folks at Google, and they nominated us for a Google Play Award in the best accessibility app as a category. So they had invited us to their offices in Mountain View, and that's when we were able to get the prize of the best accessibility app on the Play Store. Yeah.
So what happened after that? It is such a big moment in your life and in the life of your team as well.
It was definitely super exciting for us, because what happened as a result of the Google Play Award is that it opened a lot of doors for us within, I would say, Google as an organization. Because that was also the period of time when Envision was trying to see if it is possible to port our software onto a wearable. Because we had a lot of a demand from our end users who said that, hey, like your app is amazing, like we love it, but it would be ideal if I don't have to be holding a phone in my hand all the time.
Okay.
Especially if they're out and about and they have a cane or a dog in hand, it is a cumbersome experience to be holding a phone in your like the only other hand that you have. But then Envision was trying to see if there could be like a hardware or like a smart glass that we can put our like software into. But then everything else at the time in the market, they were either too big or too, I would say, like bulky, or like for people to be actually putting it on their faces, or they just didn't have the processing sort of the capability that is required to run an AI operation on it. But then when we won the Google Play Award, they introduced us the team which was working on the second edition of the Google Glasses. So the Google Glass, which was sort of a commercial or failure when it came out the first time, internally they had actually done a pivot, and now they were offering these glasses to enterprises. So if you are a business trying to build a business application, they're actually coming up with a second edition of the Google Glass, which had better processors and stuff, cameras and stuff like that. And they sort of offered it to us, saying that, hey, is this something that's interesting for you people? And they offered us an early prototype of the Google Glass, and we started to do development on that. And when we did some of the feasibility stuff, and we saw that it was able to do all the AI operations that we wanted to do on it, and when we started to show that to some of the end users here, they were very happy with the form factor of it. They were like, hey, this is something that I can see myself being out and about with having this on my face. So it was sort of the perfect combination of the two. And that's when we entered into a partnership with the Google Glass team, where we will take their hardware, put our software on it, and offer that as a product to the end users. So that sort of happened towards the beginning of like last year, and it has been very exciting since then.
Awesome. Can we have a look at the glasses?
Of course, yeah. So it's this thing right here. It's the hardware of the Google Glass, and it's got Envision sort of a software inside of it. You put it on like you'd put on a normal pair of of your glasses, and then there is a touchpad here that you interact with, and it speaks everything out to you. So I can just operate it.
Scan text, batch scan.
So right now it's just speaking out all the different options that it has inside of it that I can use. So to give you an example, I can use it to like to read exactly what it says on your title of this book. So I just have to hold it up in front of me.
Scan instant text.
And I do this. And
The sequel to the million copy. Sunday Times
So it
bestseller.
speaks this out.
Clarkson and another thing.
So yeah.
Impressive.
Seller. Instant text.
If you actually would like notice this, the add another thing is actually in like a handwritten like format.
Yeah.
But the glasses are also able to pick that up
They're
and
able to.
speak it out, which is one of the speciality that you can also pick up handwritten text. So So that's something that the glasses can do.
That's really cool. So you pair your glasses once with your phone.
Yeah.
And you don't have to carry your phone. You can put it back in your pocket.
Yeah.
As long as you have your glasses on and you can interact through this little touchpad on the side, the glasses are working.
Yeah.
And they're basically always on. You don't
Yeah.
have to switch them on and off.
No, so it goes into like a sleep mode, like your like devices go, but you just do a tap and
Yeah.
it's on.
Instant text.
Yeah.
And what about face recognition? How
So
does that work? Can it read faces?
Yeah, it can. So what I can do is I can just say take a few images of a person's face, and then I can say this is the person's name, and then that is now like stored in the glasses. And the next time I'm trying to say look for you in a crowded like room or a cafe or an office, I just have to be scanning around with these glasses, and as soon as you show up in front of the frame, it speaks out your name. So it can do stuff like that. So like I trained your face with my app
Instant
like
text
a
in
while
text.
back.
Read. Identified.
So I just have to go like to find,
Find object.
and I
Find people.
go to find people, and if I'm looking over there, it doesn't say
Looks
anything.
like Luba.
But then if I look at you, it says it looks like Luba.
Looks like Luba.
That's how it works.
Incredible. And so how easy it is to teach people to operate these glasses? Obviously, they've never had a device like this before.
Yeah.
Do they get some kind of a training, or how do you hand it to them and teach them?
So there are different kinds of end users that we are now like dealing with. There are a few we find who are a bit like tech savvy, who can we just have to give them a box and they are able to figure out everything on their own. So we have put a lot of effort into making it as intuitive as possible for people to operate. But then there are some people who do need some amount of onboarding to be able to explain to them how exactly the gestures work. And for that, we work with early distributors across the world. So these are distributors who are specialized in the distribution of assistive technology devices, and they go to people's house and they're able to offer them a demonstration of exactly how to operate it and how to use it. And we have a very good sort of like a customer success team to ensure that they have everything that they need initially to be able to onboard them onto the glasses. So we make things like videos available, audio guides available. There is a whole bunch of things that we make available. And one of the interesting features of the glasses that we also have started to use actually for the customer onboarding as well. So a thing that the glasses can also do is it can allow you to have a video call.
Really?
So if you're ever in a situation where all the AI operations are not able to help you out, you can always make a video call with this to a friend or a family member who can then answer the call on their phone, and they actually get to see a video feed of the glasses. So they can actually see exactly what's in front of you, and you can have a conversation with them and ask for assistance. So we have started to also do that with people who make a purchase of the glasses. They can always make a call to the Envision team, and then we can then have a conversation with them, ask them all the information that they need while they have both their hands free. So I think that's an incredible experience.
That is incredible experience. I think yesterday I saw a post on LinkedIn, a testimonial of one of the persons who's using the glass exactly for the video calls, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a really breathtaking, honestly, to hear how happy, how impressed that person was, how improved the life is of that person. This is really incredible to hear those kind of stories. How do you feel about this, or are you already used to it more or less?
No, it's still as exhilarating as it was, like the first time that you hear something like that. I think that's the one thing that is the thing that's been the source of encouragement for the team. Even though there was a pandemic, we're all trying to work from home, but then you keep hearing such stories from your end users who are now taking this tool and doing stuff that they want with it in their own ways. So I think they have always been a fuel for us to still put more effort into it, to still put more hours into it, because when you do hear a testimonial from an end user like that, it makes everything to be worth it at the end of the day. So all the hardships, it seems okay, because you're like, okay, if the outcome is this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And especially with something like video calling the functionality, because it's such an open function, we are still you're discovering different use cases of it.
Amazing, yeah. And so these glasses, where are they available?
So they can find them on our website, let'senvision.com. It's available just to make a purchase of it directly online. What they can also do is contact one of our tech distributors who are available like locally. We have distributors in 11 different countries at the moment. There is a list of that on the website as well. So if they do want to talk to a distributor, want to get a demonstration of it first, they can also talk to a local distributor. And in a lot of the countries, there is a possibility to also get a reimbursement of such a device from your insurance company or from the OVA, for example. So those are also opportunities that a distributor can explain to you about in more detail.
Nice. But the app itself is free.
The app is also a subscription-based thing. So you can install the app for free and you get the app free for the first 2 weeks. You can install it directly from the App Store or the Play Store. And after the 2 weeks, you can pick a subscription of your choice.
So what are the next steps or goals for Envision? You've got a great product, you're working on improving it. What is next for you?
For us now, the focus is on building this whole thing as a platform, especially on the glasses, where we can actually include other applications on it. So there are a whole bunch of other applications to help with things like navigation, to help things with which is more sort of your focused sort of object recognition tasks. So our idea is to build a platform on the glasses that can allow any app developer out there to be able to build applications on these glasses and include it within the offering of Envision. So that's now the big step for us that we're building, so that because the possibilities of this are pretty much endless, right? There can be so much that these glasses can do in order to increase independence for people, and I think we have just been scratching the surface of it, of what's possible. So yeah, super excited to see if we just open it up as a platform for other people, what will they do with it?
Fantastic. It's really great to hear your story and to know that you are based in the Netherlands. Your company is growing. It's a really a great success story. If you think about other entrepreneurs who are getting to know your success story or thinking about launching a product or moving abroad, what would be your advice to them at this moment?
I think my biggest advice would be just to go for it. I think a lot of people are often, they spend too much time in in like thinking about something, then taking the leap of faith. So there's never going to be a perfect or like ideal situation to do anything. So just take a leap of faith, and then you will be surprised as to like how there are enough sort of I would say like like mechanisms around you to help you support your dream. Because when I started out, I didn't know about incubators. I didn't know about the fact that there is something called a startup like visa, where there's a special like visa that the country of Netherlands offers for people starting up. I didn't know there are things like fundings available. I didn't know all of these opportunities, which I got to know only after I took the leap of faith, that hey, there is enough offer, there is enough options available for you. So I think my advice would be for people who are on the edge, on the fence, to like to make the leap of faith, and you will be surprised as to how easy like landing is going to be actually.
To just start doing it.
Yeah.
And new opportunities will come. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just start, and you will see things will start happening.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think, just you have to take the plunge at some point. Like you can spend, I think, a years in you're preparing for something, but then there's always going to be uncertainty. So if you take the plunge, and then you're always surprised at like how much other people also want you to succeed. I think that was for me one thing, that there are so many other people out there who are going to help you succeed, but then you have to just go and ask for people's help.
Yeah, you've learned so much on this journey already. And I wonder if you had already any entrepreneurs that reached out to you and asked you for advice or saw you already in a sort of a mentor for them?
No, for sure. There are people who reach out and ask for advice, but I'm always a bit afraid of that because I feel that I feel that I'm still in a learning phase. I don't think I have learned enough to start giving advice to people. So what I always just share are my experiences, and I say, hey, this is how I did things, this is how I went through it, and then I allow them to take the teachings from those experiences. So I think that's the way I approach it as of now, because I feel that I feel that I don't know enough to start giving advices. So I am a lot more comfortable in sharing experiences and then allowing people to take their own learnings from it.
Yeah. How would you describe yourself as a person in 3 words?
I think for me, it's like, I would say something like a get things done. I think those 3 words would be my thing. I just don't like to beat around the bush. I don't like to do. I'm someone who will go out and do things, kind of a person. So I think that's what would I think would describe me the best. So I'm not the smartest person I know. I'm not the most ambitious person I know. I'm not the most sort of like a creative person I know. I know people around me who are a lot more smarter and creative than me. But I think the reason that I think the stuff that sets me apart is that I would go out and do things instead of not doing them. So I think that's what would define me better.
And my last question, what is the one thing that you will never do again?
What is the one thing I would never do again? Yes, very interesting story. When I got to the Netherlands, I went to the Saturday out. There was a market in the Netherlands where, like in Delft, and they had a candy shop where they were selling licorice. And there was a lady who took a scoop of licorice and she said, hey, do you want to give this thing a try? I thought they are jelly beans. So I took a handful of them and I put them all in my mouth at once. Not a pleasant experience. I have been told that it is an acquired taste, which I haven't acquired yet. So I'm never going to put a handful of licorice in my mouth ever again.
I see. That's a nice story. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And I wish you and Envision a lot of success in the future. I'm looking forward to hear more about positive stories from your users and around the world, how your company is growing. It's really nice.
Appreciate it, Luba. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.